Hello. See if I got this right. Hell yeah. Okay, we got it. We got it. Okay. That was a little tricky. It's because technically I'm doing three streams on YouTube on the same account, and what I want to do is I want to be able to do my vertical streams because they have this new feature where they they automatically make your a horizontal stream a vertical stream, and but it's not the same thing as the YouTube short. So like, yeah. Sound like my dad. All right. We're also gonna be watching stuff too.
To be nominated for Best Picture at
Holy
the
shit,
Academy
that's loud. Okay,
Awards,
here we
or at
go.
least Marvel's first comic book movie to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards and all that kind of stuff. It was also a cultural touchstone. It was an important film, and it was a fantastic film. Then the unthinkable happened. We, of course, lost Chadwick Boseman. They were already well into planning Black Panther 2. And so they had to completely change directions. And they made Black Panther Wakanda
Is that
Forever,
better?
which I don't hate, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't like it very much. I love the original Black Panther. I did not like Black Panther 2 that much. Well, recently now, Ryan Coogler, who I believe on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, actually is now officially revealed what the plot was going to be for Black Panther 2 prior to us losing the great Chadwick Boseman. Comicbook.com has this headline: Ryan Coogler reveals original Black Panther Wakanda Forever plans before Chadwick Boseman's death. And it writes the following. This is Coogler. The big thing about the script was it was a thing called the Ritual of Eight. Coogler revealed about the 180-page draft he originally wrote, where when a prince is 8 years old, he has to go spend 8 days in the bush with his father, and they have to go out into the bush without any tools, and the prince has to do everything that is asked of him by his father. But the rule is for those 8 days, the prince can ask the father any question, and the father has to answer. And during the course of those 8 days, Namor launches an attack. So that was the movie. Was he had to deal with someone, and it was a different version of Namor in that script, but someone who's insanely dangerous. But because of this ritual, his son had to be joined at his hip the whole time. Classic
Daddy
conundrum
daycare.
plot. Classic conundrum plot.
Oh, that would have been so good. Why?
Plot. You have this, and you got to do this, but you have to deal
Hey
with
there,
this.
Right.
Classic
Muda
conundrum plot.
Sir
Love the sound of it.
Pato.
Getting more into the
I said
whole
that right.
mythology of it. Apparently, it was going to focus a lot on T'Challa's father with a relationship with his own father, T'Chaka, where he has which was a theme in a lot of the other Black Panther stuff as well. So he's going to have to unpack all that kind of stuff as well. We were going to have an 8-year-old T'Challa, son of T'Challa, and all that kind of stuff. I gotta say, it's not jumping off the page at me, but it sounds a lot better than what we got with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think it probably would have worked out better. But again, I don't fault Ryan Coogler, Marvel, anybody for how Black Panther Wakanda Forever turned out, because they were faced with an impossible situation. And I don't know that anybody in the world could have done a better job trying to, pivot and still put out a new Black Panther movie. It was a near impossible thing. And to be fair, there's a lot of people who like Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Well,
Because I didn't like it. Other people liked it too, and that's fine, but it didn't really work for me. Anyway, Rob, you saw this description. What do you think about the description of it? How do you think that would have played out?
Well, it seems to me like it's more of an episode of a TV show. I don't know how you stretch that into making it a feature film. Like if Black Panther's saddled with an 8-year-old kid and he has to go take on
For
Namor.
reals.
But I can also see the potential, like T'Challa reflects back on the time when he did the Ritual of Eight with his own father. You Godfather to that. Who go back and forth,
Yeah.
go back and forth through time, and the idea that, dude, the idea of fathers and sons is something that we don't see much in movies anymore. And
Which is one of the reasons I love the original Thor movie.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I know.
the main theme
And
of
I'll
that
tell
movie,
you,
and I
now
loved
that they've released the Thor, the teaser officially online.
Yeah, with Thor and Love.
Yeah, and when he's talking to Odin, about please, Father, give me the
fuck?
power. I mean, that restores.
Somebody in Twitch
Like
is saying that I buy my
did
lives.
like
I'm like, yeah,
Ragnarok
for the
a lot.
3 people that are
couldn't
watching
stand
me.
Love and Thunder. I mean, and I think it's what they've done. I love the fact that they take this plot element from Love and Thunder and turn it into something mythic and epic. And you go back and you listen to Thor. Same with Steve Rogers. Again, it's a tonal issue. But the thing about Black Panther Wakanda Forever is, while I think it's obviously deeply compromised because it had to be, I love the fact that Ryan Coogler had a tone that he was going for. A serious, thoughtful tone that touched on many different issues. And I thought the film actually did honor the memory of Chadwick Boseman and Chad Boseman's fight with cancer that he did privately, but very publicly, even though people didn't know it. And I thought that the film was it was a respectable effort. And I liked it. I mean, it's by definition imperfect because it had an insurmountable goal to have to surmount.
Yeah.
But so I think Ryan Coogler is really thoughtful. Whatever he would have done, I haven't seen a Ryan Coogler movie that I haven't liked. And Sinners is, what is Sinners about? But brothers, family.
Oh man.
And I love that too. And so I think it sounds like it could have been a really great,
I made a heavy
great
show.
movie.
Oops.
And I would have trusted him to do it. So, it's a shame that we didn't get it, but
on so many levels.
Yeah, on so many levels. But look, I look so forward to his future career because he's bought himself a lot. The fact that what a baller move saying, I got to own my movie.
Yeah.
It's going to revert back to me. So you go, boy, and you go get that X-Files show and you make it good because Chris Carter has let me down with the last 2 seasons of that god-awful second film. I think Ryan Coogler's if Ryan Coogler, if he creeds it with the X-Files, I'm going to be ecstatic.
I'm going to give a prediction. Not based on it, just prediction. That Ryan Coogler X-Files thing never happens.
Why do you got to harsh my mouth?
I'm saying, look, I don't know that. I absolutely could be wrong. But that's just my prediction.
I'm tearing up right now.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Ryan Coogler has kind of given out what was going to be the basic plot of Black Panther 2.
Talk about fucking with his mood. Jesus Christ. All right. Where is it? I want to watch this. It's a little sort of political, but it's more of a roast, and it's funny, and I want to see it.
All right. This is actually kind of fun. So, you guys remember Andrew Wilson, Mr. Can't Open a Pickle Jar?
Appreciate it.
He,
I have not finished the X-Files. Dude, I haven't even watched the new X-Files, to be honest with you.
He got in a little thing with a girl named Charlie, who's some kind of debater. They had a 6-hour debate.
Your wife with the 3 baby.
What did I just say?
Your wife with the 3
Sorry, doll. I'm sorry.
He went on the PBD podcast and started talking about his little incident that went viral. So I first want to play this video for you.
I will never be able to convince you of my worldview.
You won't.
I know. But the reason is not because I'm not a great orator, or I don't make good points, or I haven't said things which should be compelling to a person. But Charlie, I just think honestly you're too f***ing stupid to understand them.
So Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
I like how that's supposed to be a like a cordial debate, and this guy's always like, "Yeah, you're a dumb bitch."
Yes.
Old school X-Files was the best. I don't know. I've never seen it. I saw a couple episodes here and there. Yeah, that's about it for me. I wanted to watch that video, but I have a feeling it's gonna be too heavy, and I don't want to.
PlayStation 5 is now just over 5 years old, and it does seem very weird to say that. I think a lot of us are coming to the same conclusion of, oh my god, I cannot believe it's already been 5 years. But sure enough, the initial COVID delays, supply constraints, the apparent lack of games, and here we are. It feels like the console generation hasn't even really gotten started. Or at least that's how it feels for some people. For me, I find that the console at 5 years in has done very well, but that's what's been so fascinating about the conversation surrounding PS5 so far. It's been 5 years, right? There's 2 more years until PS6, we assume, and PS5 will surely be very relevant beyond PlayStation 6. So it's not like the console has to be defined by this first 5 years.
Is it really that good? I need to.
But
I need
5
to.
years is
I need to watch
definitely
them.
plenty to where I'm not sure it will be able to shake off this general sentiment surrounding it, and that it feels like nothing has happened, or at least because of those, again, supply constraints, these very long game dev cycles, and PlayStation's push into the live service segment, which has had a lot of missteps so far. It's going to be very hard for the console to shake off that sort of identity crisis. And I find that to be a bit of a shame, because this was always apparent to me, even on day one of PlayStation 5, is that it had this sort of unusual benefit that we don't often see in the console segment. In that, sure, it's got backwards compatibility, and that's a big boon to the playability of it on day one, because every single console, when it comes out on day one, it's day one. There is no library compared to what it's going to look like 1, 2, 3 years down the road, right? No matter what, every console is...
I made a video on that, Zatri, in my profile if you want to check it out. It's actually very worrisome. Like this, I'm not gonna lie. This generation of consoles and games has been ass. Like games wise, it's been good, but in terms of like just like consoles in general, it hasn't been that good, in my opinion. I like the PS4 era better for gaming overall. I like it better. What are utility items? First of all, I gotta put this in my save files. Oh, thank you for watching, man. I appreciate it. People were mad at my last video, and I'm like, ugh. Mr. Morris, Happy New Year to you too.
Is going to start off slow, but PlayStation 5, by virtue of backwards compatibility and the super fast SSD and boosting PS4 games retroactively and just getting better frame rates, higher resolutions for the games that are dynamic, you almost immediately got this benefit that you don't often see with prior console cycles. The console made sense to pick up even on day one. And that's without the hindsight of the console got more expensive over time, right? But ignoring that, it was immediately playable and enjoyable. And that's also ignoring the fact that Day One did have some strong first-party games, and there has been first-party output, not just from PlayStation Studios, which includes first and second-party now at this point, but also just strong third-party support as well. This is one of those things where I think we could easily list off a handful of games. You know, your Demon's Souls, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Insomniac has done an incredible job on this console. You have your Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Returnal, Astrobot, Gran Turismo 7, Ghost of Yotei, other second-party but first-party game experiences that are still under PS Studios, like Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, Helldivers 2. You have third-party agreements and these exclusives that are timed on PlayStation 5, like your Final Fantasy 16 and 7 Rebirth, Silent Hill 2, and then just general third-party games, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, smaller things like Balatro. It becomes a bit of a list.
Oh, they'll give you one.
That's what's, I guess, also very complicated about talking about games in today's environment, is that it's turned into a bit of a list war thing, which can be proposed and propped up in a very different way depending on who's making the argument, what kind of narrative they're trying to pull here, because then it sort of boils down to, well, those games don't count. This game doesn't count because it was on PS4. It was on PC. It's the argument I've made before. I still feel very strongly about this, and that even though there may be a cross-gen game and it's available on PS4, well, we can see that people are still buying PS5s at the same rate that they pretty much always did with prior console cycles. Today's consumers are very eager to buy new machines, buy the PS5 versions of those games and they're console buyers. It just simply has not mattered that these games are also available on PC. The games are exclusive enough to where there's still that benefit of, if you choose to play on PlayStation 5, you are getting the PS5 console exclusive experience with these titles in particular.
And it hasn't felt like that this generation.
Exclusivity has not really been lost on PlayStation 5, I find. And so you're still getting a lot of these experiences that you otherwise were not going to get if you stuck with PS4 or if you were to go over to Xbox. Now, obviously, that's a whole other can of worms as far as where Xbox looks like nowadays, but I digress. The point is, there's so many games we could list off.
We're going after that giant
very odd spectrum of the conversation to have, and that, you know, it really falls on a studio by studio basis. We can say all day, every day that it's been a massive disappointment that certain studios like
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Why do people get mad if there's a certain demographic of games that are for a certain demographic of people? Like, who gives a fuck? Just play what you like. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Particular Naughty Dog have gone through most of this PlayStation 5 cycle without shipping a sort of brand new experience, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's getting disliked to hell because all the installs are coming out.
But it always falls on a studio by studio basis. I am greatly disappointed with where those studios fell in recent years, especially because we are talking about 6, 7, 8 years.
Not exactly what I wanted.
It's very tough to establish new IPs. We are expecting, thankfully, that we'll have something like Intergalactic. There's also Marvel's Wolverine on the horizon. There's Saros, which I'm very excited for from Housemarque. So these games.
I usually play as a woman.
There's a plentiful amount of surprises that we'll see as we go into the final 2 years of PlayStation 5 before PlayStation 6. I say final because, you know, just assuming that the next console cycle is 2 years away. But you can look at all the missteps, and it's a studio by studio thing. There's just the weird push and pull of, well, there's just been so many games, period. And that's why it's even hard to have that list war argument to begin with, because no matter how you phrase it, this generation has had a massive amount of games, and I don't think anybody recently has as much time to play and enjoy this much stuff that is out there. Maybe you're very picky, it depends on the genres that you're into. I mean, I can't explain that for you, of course, but I find that with how many games come out nowadays, it is overwhelming, let's say. And so with PlayStation 5, a console that has these amazing quality of life improvements with load times pretty much being gone, boosting any sort of previous generation games, and just being a no compromise experience as far as a nice clean UI that sets up all your games on that horizontal row and you can launch them and just get into your games as fast as possible. The console experience so far with PS5 and the amount of games that have come out across the third, second, and first party has been very strong and very compelling. You know, I don't like to make arguments like these too often as far as comparing directly, but I mean, a sort of holistic comparison would simply be, you can look at PlayStation 2, for example, a console that has been well known for its vast library of games and how that really runs the gamut of the experiences you can have on PS2, and it's just a sort of behemoth in the games business, or the games in games history rather, right? You can look at PS2's library, it's in the thousands, and PlayStation 5 is like twofold.
Hopefully more optimization goes into current games. I have heard from other YouTubers an instance ongoing to backlog. It does not help the new releases that can have substantial. Dude, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm buying any games anytime soon.
How many games are coming out nowadays? And I don't want to say quantity automatically means better, but I think you can understand just the sheer volume of stuff that does come out nowadays.
Where'd it go?
Versus the PlayStation 2, and it runs the gamut possibly far more than PS2 ever reasonably could see when you can choose between the free-to-play stuff.
I had to upgrade recently because my computer broke, unfortunately.
And then all these new studios that are forming and putting out different types of games that come out. And then there's still the AAA familiar, which, you know, are few and far between, don't get me wrong, because we're talking about 6, 7 year dev cycles.
Fuck me, that's a Rocketeer.
And feels very annoying for maybe some of your favorite studios. But it's that combined with everything else that sort of stacks up, and we have a release cadence of games that just feels very overwhelming. And we have a console experience that's been so refined as far as the fast load times, a robust online interface, and let's also not even ignore the fact that we have 60 FPS on consoles in a way that has been so consistent. The vast majority of PlayStation 5 games have been 60 FPS, and that is an entirely new concept versus prior consoles. You know, it's not like 60 FPS didn't exist on PS3, PS2, PS1. PS1 was certainly more common than I think some people tend to remember, same with PlayStation 2. That was very genre dependent, where typically you'd see 60 FPS on certain types of genres. But, you know, PlayStation 5 across the board, it is highly unusual to only have a 30 FPS game. So we're now getting
it's been good so far. I've really been enjoying it on the computer.
Had some rough starts with PSSR, Sony's internal semi-proprietary AI upscaler, which will hopefully be a lot better going into 2026. But to sort of end off the game conversation, I just feel like there has been so much happening that it would be a bit of a shame that the live service troubles with your Concord, your Destruction All-Stars, the cancellations at Ben Studio, The Last of Us Online, Blue Point's God of War thing, the Twisted Metal project. We know there's been some challenges in that segment, but all of that can happen, and yet we still have so much else to prop up the generation. And that's where it becomes a little bit uneven in my eyes.
Which one?
Now,
Which game do you want to play?
VR2, I want to quickly acknowledge this, which
I've been
I
waiting.
still think is primarily a virtual reality problem. It's a marketplace in that it's, you know, sure, a very expensive headset that is tethered to a PlayStation 5, and I would have loved to see Sony invest more in this space from first party, but they can't reasonably do that. They can't tie up their existing studios with VR games that are not going to sell even remotely close to what they would sell if they were 2D experiences. But I would have loved to see some investment in other new VR studios, kind of how they've approached this with live service games in general, and that they oftentimes do scout out and sign on other studios so that that's not impeding on the first party output quite to the degree that people think is happening, right?
Alright, sounds good.
A little bit with like Naughty Dog and Ben, for example. But I think you get my point. I think that would have been the best way to approach VR. They have not gone about that. We've only had Horizon Call of the Mountain, Gran Turismo 7, Firewall Ultra, but PSVR 2 is still a very performant headset, and there are still a lot of VR games coming out from third-party studios. Ghouls just dropped, Cave Crave really blew up, there's RoboQuest VR, and there's more in the pipeline as well for
hell
VR
yeah.
games that are shipping on PlayStation VR 2, which are more complete packages versus what you find on MetaQuest or Steam VR. So you are sort of getting a virtual reality experience that's a bit more tailored in that manner. You're not necessarily getting the shovelware and fluff that you see flood at the MetaQuest headset, for example. So in a way, that is almost a benefit for PSVR 2, but that can still be a detriment as far as some games skipping VR 2 entirely. But VR 2, I wish it could be so much better than where it is right now, but I don't want to undersell how good of a headset it can be if you like and enjoy virtual reality, and I love VR so much. So PSVR 2 didn't really pan out the way I was hoping it would, but it's definitely still got some value, and it's still receiving that value today. Now, I also want to touch on the DualSense. I think this is kind of an open and shut case. I love this thing. It's pretty much the best PlayStation controller out there. It's comfortable. It feels sturdy. The battery life is disappointing, sure. There's a new revision that came out that does improve that substantially, which is fantastic to see. But the DualSense haptics and triggers has been something where when games do not really lean into those, I'm disappointed, genuinely. I mean, it's great that, you know, you have a handful of first-party games that really showcase what the controller is capable of, and it may seem a little bit gimmicky, but I've never really liked the word gimmicky. It feels very thoughtful in its approach to how it can really elevate a game experience. I mean, it's a sensory experience too. I mean, that's the point of PlayStation 5 when we consider the hardware and how Sony has marketed this machine.
How do you get that minigun, by the way? Yo, how do you get that minigun? No? Okay.
2015. This was Sony already acknowledging in 2020 that we know we're in diminishing returns as far as how games visually look. That's why we have 60 FPS now, because there's just that much headroom at this point. So with with those diminishing returns,
What color
for
did you do it?
visual fidelity, Sony acknowledged that we needed some new sensory experiences on this platform cycle. That's why you have things like 3D audio, which has been hit or miss for me personally. That might depend greatly on how I interpret sound, but also the haptics and triggers for the DualSense controller. I love it. The only big problem is that I daily a DualSense Edge, and I like that controller a lot, but I am having the bubbling issue on the back with the rubber pads on both my original DualSense Edge and now my 30th anniversary Edge. That is a huge bummer as far as quality control, and I really wish this was something that Sony would have been a little bit more careful with long-term testing being done on those rubber pads. That was a huge misfire, and it's a bummer that for such an expensive controller, it is showing these signs within a year. Now, speaking of the DualSense Edge, that's a great segue to the product ecosystem for PlayStation. I think there's a lot to be said about the PS mobile experience, the mobile app rather, so that's been very robust. It's not as fast and snappy as I would like. It still feels very much like a like a PlayStation-made application. The 2025 version of the PS mobile app is very feature complete, I would say. There's a lot of what you can do and what you can expect to do on the app. There's basic messaging, but of course surfing the store, downloading things,
coughing like an 80-year-old smoke addict.
It is, for the most part, feature complete. I just don't really like how it still feels a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, and you don't get that responsiveness that certain other applications have on iOS and Android. Now, having said that, the Pulse Elite, the Pulse Explorer, I didn't think I would be using PlayStation branded headsets outside of PlayStation. So they've made some very nice headsets that have genuine application outside of the hardware, and it's nice having the sort of downstream effect of Sony acquiring that one company. So now they have planar magnetic drivers in the headsets, in the Pulse Explorer earbuds, and so the audio quality is excellent. I love it, and I've actually been using the Pulse Explorer more and more than my AirPods just to listen to music on my phone. And that also extends to a device like the PlayStation Portal, which it is a bummer that you have to use Sony's proprietary PS Link technology for that protocol on the PS Portal. That's the only way you can get a wireless headset on the Portal in the here and now without some sort.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. Hope you're all doing absolutely excellent, and I'm feeling a little spicy today. So let's talk about the top 10 worst games of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, as
Happy
always,
holidays.
this list has been built off the back of the games I personally played this year. It's very well possible you go through this list, you check the Steam reviews and go, objectively speaking, Maddie, this was reviewed worse than this, or Maddie, I played this year, and it was worse than that over there. God willing, I really hope you didn't play something worse than me this year, because it was an excellent year for video games, especially if you're an RPG fan. There was a lot of best of genre going on over there, and we were eating good. But also, for people like me, fans of Fallout, Pokemon, Obsidian, Trails, really weird year for me, where I had to grapple with myself that I am spending a lot of time with games that I really am not enjoying, and I need to focus more on all the good stuff coming out, because there's too much great content coming out to just be focused on this list, man. I mean, it came together like that this year, man. It was a really easy list to make, and to me, that was just another reminder of like, Maddie, spend more time with your backlog. It's calling your name. So, ladies and gentlemen, with all of that out of the way, let's get started with the top 10 worst games of 2025. And hey, we were just talking about franchises that I love that let me down a little bit. It's a bit of
What's Boosteroid? Boosteroid.
a weird one to open on, because this franchise is also in my top 10 best games of 2025. And that franchise I'm talking about is Trails.
Go again.
Number 10 goes to Trails Through Daybreak 2. Now, Trails community, I know you're going to come at me for this one, because it's understandable how the game got in this position. Trails Through Daybreak 2 was made in 11 months, and I really value the Trails franchise for its incredible storytelling, its world building, its character development, and by second, its combat, which they don't really evolve a ton, but it's always been steady and solid and enjoyable. So as long as the story is moving forward in an interesting direction, Trails is always a win. And if you paid attention to my best games of the year list for the last like 3 or 4 years, Trails has been there every single time. It's an excellent series for JRPG fans. So like I said, Trails Through Daybreak 2...
Booster is
had
a
11
cloud which one's cheaper, Bruceroid or GeForce Now? Where the fuck is my... Did I? Okay, it's right there. Just in case I fuck up, I'm gonna take... Or just in case somebody dies, I'll take this. No.
months to be made, and you can feel that everywhere in its story, and especially at this point in the franchise.
I don't like cloud
where
gaming
Trails
either.
is reaching its
I think it's
end.
bullshit.
So anytime they miss in a new chapter in this story, it stings. The last time they missed, while it wasn't that bad in my opinion, was Cold Steel 4. We've been eating
What am I
good
missing?
since then, but Trails Through Daybreak 2 just lacks any sort of interesting narrative here. The major villain reveal is terrible. The actual story itself isn't very good. And all of this, I understand why it happened, but it doesn't change that I spent 60 hours in the latest entry in one of my favorite JRPG series and didn't have a good time. Worse yet, they introduced a new time travel mechanic in Daybreak 2 that I think had a lot of interesting potential, but eventually they just water it down by reusing it over and over and over as a get out of jail free card, and by the end of the game there's zero tension left in the story. They do a terrible villain reveal and then the game is over. We don't have to be too concerned because the next Trails game in Horizon looks incredible, and obviously Sky Remake was amazing this year, so it was still a great year.
No, let's see if there's anything else I can watch. Here's one.
Many game franchises have multiple entries or sequels, and every so often, one of them comes along and kills off or severely damages an entire franchise. Here are 10 examples of that. Just fair warning, this video is a little bit of a bummer. Let's get started off with number 10 and talk about Medal of Honor.
Okay, that's a little
this
loud.
is a now classic World War II shooter franchise. I mean, it was like kickstarted by PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2.
What in the
Medal of
fuck was
Honor
that?
games lived a
Oh,
wonderful
damn,
life.
that
They
scared
were
the fuck out of
incredibly
me.
Fun, cinematic.
My
first-person
subscriber
shooter
shit
war
is
games
way
well
too
before you had a solid
doing
Call
too
of Duty
much.
campaign or anything like that. Medal of Honor
Thank
was
you for the
crushing it.
Prime
The
subscription,
score
I appreciate
by
it.
Michael Giacchino, who is now famous for doing like superhero movies, to really incredible, still memorable depictions of stuff you'd see in war movies like Saving Private Ryan, like storming the beaches of Normandy. Yeah, Medal of Honor did that, and they crushed it in video game form. From the Pacific Theater to Nazi intrigue, all kinds of stuff, they really had it going on for a while. And then, it seems like when Call of Duty and Battlefield really started to pop off, Medal of Honor kind of fell to the wayside. But around 2010, it's when EA really tried
I'm
to
glad you
revitalize
answered your own
things
question,
and
though.
kick Medal of Honor into the modern age. Medal of Honor, and then 2012's Medal of Honor Warfighter. And the problem with these games is that they were half-assed and
What is
just
this?
so painfully generic. Now, they had their moments, mind you. Medal of Honor Warfighter.
Thank you a
which
lot, I
do
appreciate it.
remember
Thank you,
reviewing
thank you,
back
thank you.
in the
Alright,
day,
let me
not
fix
for
this
Game
real
Ranks,
quick
but somewhere.
before...
Actually had some surprisingly good driving sections, but otherwise, these modern revamped Medal of Honor games were like totally all style, no substance. On the surface, they looked pretty good, but once you actually got to playing one, there were so many other games
kill
just
this
doing this
picture.
stuff better at the time, and they totally ate Medal of Honor's lunch. 2012 had Medal of Honor Warfighter come and go and quickly be forgotten, and we hadn't heard anything about Medal of Honor
That
since.
game was so
Then,
bad. I
to
played
be
the
fair,
beta to
in
that game.
2010, there was Medal
And
of
holy
Honor
shit,
Above
it was
and
bad.
Beyond, the Oculus VR game by Respawn of all people, but that didn't necessarily take off. And after that, and considering this was a pretty expensive VR game to make, we don't know if the Medal of Honor franchise is ever really going to see a resurgence. I
don't
mean,
think it
nothing
ever
is
is.
ever really dead. They could bring it back and drag it out in a couple more years and
Happy
maybe
New
do
Year.
it right, but for now, Medal of Honor is definitely sleeping with the fishes. Next over at number 9, there was Ninja Gaiden 3. Oh man. Do you remember this one? Leading up to it, it seemed like it was going to be pretty awesome. All those cool new weapons, the kind of visual style, the game's cover art, like it just seemed really cool. People were obviously really excited, specifically because the last 2 Ninja Gaiden games were great. They were incredibly challenging, really tight games. Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black all the time here if you watch Game Ranks every day. Man, the lead up to Ninja Gaiden 3
Thank you
was
for the
so
follow, Cherry
exciting, and
Cutie. I
then when
appreciate
this thing
you.
dropped in 2012.
Scared the
it got a
shit
lot
out of me.
bad
You did it on
reviews.
purpose
I
just to scare me.
famously remember a really crushing
So here,
one
just
from
lurking.
Giant Bomb where they gave it like
You
a
lurk away,
2 out of
beautiful.
5 stars. Overall, nobody was really happy with it. I remember personally after it just felt like regular old generic video game stuff, and along with that, the game just lost a lot of
Hey,
its
bring
identity.
them
It felt
brownies over
really
here, girl. Bring
hand-holdy.
bring
A
them
lot of people
brownies
had
over
billed it as just kind of button mashy and stupid. The game had your typical quick time events, which were popular at the time, and just something was really missing. The soul of Ninja Gaiden here wasn't quite right. And again, it's just so jarring because the first 2 Ninja Gaiden games were so tight. Those were solid video games with challenge, secrets, nuance, and Ninja Gaiden 3 just kind of felt like a cheap clone, cheap knockoff. Now they then tried fixing it with the Razor's Edge re-release,
Okay.
but for most people it was
You want to play?
too little, way too late. And then after that, I mean, are we even gonna get into this? They put out Ninja Gaiden Yaiba, and because like that was even worse. Technically, that wasn't like a.
Are you
major
kidding me? I'm gonna be
series, but
killed.
Still, it definitely didn't hurt things. Really, Ninja Gaiden 3 was where a lot of things seemingly died. I still think the original 2 games, and I mean the classic franchise before it, are still good enough that eventually we might see something again, but as of right now, Ninja Gaiden is kind of dead. And it pains me to say that. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Next, over at number 8, we have Command & Conquer 4, which, if you ask certain people, they say it was kind of the last gasp of the good series. I mean, Command & Conquer as a brand still exists today. They roll it out for certain things, but Command & Conquer 4 was the last numbered entry.
What's too loud?
It wasn't that great. They really kind of changed up the whole resource gathering thing in favor of more like managing and capturing different control points, and it just didn't feel the same, and it seems like it didn't for a lot of people. That being said, it's an okay game. If you look at reviews, you know, it's got a lot of 7s across the board. Not a total complete disaster or anything like that, but I feel like there's a lot we can dive into with just like the main Command & Conquer games, how the Red Alert games changed things up. Like, there's a lot of nuances here, but ultimately,
Wait, what's too loud?
is that 4 was just 4, and then too many people, the RTS genre started to kind of lose steam, at least with mainstream popularity. They're still out there.
Right there?
People
Is
really
that good?
play them and love them, but they don't quite pop off in terms of mainstream sales like they used to. And I think EA unfortunately realized that they're always the first to bail on stuff, and in this case, they kind of bailed on Command & Conquer. Next, over at number 7, we have Castlevania Lords of Shadows 2. Now, this released in 2014, and it's actually technically like the last new entry in the series in almost 10 years. And that sucks because they were kind of onto something with the original, I mean, depending on who you ask. It definitely took a lot of stuff and threw it to the wayside from classic Castlevania games, but it was a cool refresh. It was very of the time, kind of a God of War style game, but with cool vampires and the Belmonts and all that stuff you expect. But Castlevania Lord of Shadows 2 kind of took it even further with you playing as Dracula, with you being the bad guy, and that was something that ended up being a cool twist in the first game, and then in the second game, it kind of went hokey. It kind of jumped the shark a little bit. There's parts where it's in a modern world, and it just very much was more a video game of the time, a 2014 game, you know? Cheesy cutscenes, over-the-top characters, quick-time events. I personally like that stuff, but not always for Castlevania, and while it was cute for Lord of Shadows, it was not as good for the second one. It didn't review as well as the first game, and ultimately I think that coupled with the fact that Konami was just being Konami at the time, and really we're kind of stepping away from games, that was it. Castlevania, I don't think is dead forever. I think we're going to see more of it soon. I really hope so. I really think it's time for this thing to return full speed ahead.
Lord of Shadows, the first one, it was okay, but I didn't like it that much. I thought that it was, I don't know. I just didn't think it was that good.
But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Next, over at number 6, we have Dead Rising 4. Now, let's roll the clock back a little bit. The original Dead Rising was revolutionary. It was just so cool and creative and a really good spin on an almost like George Romero style zombie game with a good Capcom Japanese spin to it. It was creative, it was challenging, it was stress-inducing, and it was also technically very impressive. For a lot of people, if you ask some of us, that first game was truly special, and the series never really quite reached the same heights since. It was all downhill. Now, the second one kind of continued the thing, added some things, and it was all right, but then by 3, the game started to lose its identity. So 2016's Dead Rising 4 was supposed to be kind of like the comeback kid. You were once again playing as Frank, the beloved classic character, and it had kind of a shopping mall Christmas time spin. Like, you weren't just in a shopping mall, there was a lot more to it, but still, it seemed like it was going to have some callbacks to the first one and be a good time. Unfortunately, though, the game was not received very well at all. Now, full disclosure, I played it, I thought it was alright, I didn't think it was the best of the series, but I certainly didn't hate it by any means. But for most
Damn, I need a
people,
hawk
they were
cracker.
checked out of the series at this point. I guess completely lost faith. I think that ultimately the bottom line is that they just kept watering down what Dead Rising was from game to game. And by 4, it had really dried up.
Yay.
It was another open world-ish
Okay.
game in a sea of them when a lot of other games were kicking ass that year. I mean, 2016 was the year that like Hitman started to kind of roll out, the new Hitman, Doom was blowing people away, so Dead Rising just kind of came like a fart in the wind. Ultimately, it seemingly flopped for Capcom, and that's really all we've heard about Dead Rising since. That was 2016. We're pretty far out from that. I expect good old Frank West to be dragged out for something at some point, but
I hate that I'm going to say this about this game too, but I've never liked the Dead Rising games at all.
soon. Next over at number 5, we have Fear 3. Now, let's roll it back again. The original Fear was absolutely revolutionary. It was an incredibly tense, technically impressive first-person shooter with
Those games
compelling
when
enemies, some challenge.
I remember when the game came out for the PlayStation 3, it was a launch game, and it was like probably one of the first games they showed with the PlayStation 3 was capable of, like, with using the graphics, using everything that you could do in it. It was a really nice looking game, but nobody, like, it wasn't great. It was just more of a, like, oh, this is what the PlayStation's capable of. And they made so many of these games that they sucked.
And also just, it was surprisingly scary. It had some really, really good scares to it. Things kind of continued with Fear 2, but at that point, the developer-publisher had really smelled the money, and Fear 3 released in 2011, and really it was a shadow of its former self. If you compare Fear 3 to the first game, it's like being on a different planet. Fear 3 just was very much of the time, a very 2011-ass game with corny cutscenes, weird cheesy characters, dumb over-the-top moments, shoehorned co-op elements that, yeah, you can say that some of those elements were actually kind of creative, but still, it wasn't really what Fear was. And bottom line, it wasn't scary at all. I don't really know what they were thinking with this game, to just go so far in a different direction and after being like, oh, that's what people like. You just totally flipped the franchise on its head? Okay. It wasn't like a creative risk or anything. It felt totally half-assed. And interestingly enough, the game actually has okay reviews. If you look at the Metacritic, I mean, like, the review scores are okay, and the user scores, the actual fan scores, are much lower. People were really burned by this one, and I don't know if we're gonna see Fear ever again. That was just like a special point in time. Man, that original Fear game is just magic. Now down to number 4. Oh, don't get me started on this one. I take this one extremely personally. It's SimCity. The 2013 game, just simply titled SimCity, was kind of like the harbinger of what was to come with the problems with modern games, and specifically a lot of the stuff that EA pulled. The lead up to SimCity 2013 felt big. The screenshots, the videos, everything coming out, the game looked absolutely massive and incredible, and it seemed like Maxis and EA were really going for it. It was seemingly going to be more dynamic, more detailed, with more zoning, way more options, just a kind of different gameplay style, a whole new engine. And like critically, at face value, some critics thought it was alright, but unfortunately, once it actually released to mainstream audiences, the game hit a lot of problems. It was technically an absolute
Damn, I gotta build more shit.
It was buggy, it was messy, it was all over the place, and it also was one of the earlier games that were considered always online. And it was a game that you'd pretty much be playing by yourself, but EA wanted you to be connected to the internet. And the problem was, when SimCity launched, there were a bunch of network outages, so it was just kind of like a huge perfect storm disaster. There was tons of crashing, you'd be sitting around waiting for the game to load, to connect to EA servers, people were actually losing their saves, and it was just like a disastrous launch. If you think modern game release released launches are bad, SimCity 2013 really kind of paved the way. This was like an early games as a service game. They wanted you online, they wanted you playing, and they wanted to keep updating the game constantly and keep you playing SimCity forever. And you know what? That's admirable, but it didn't hit. Technically, it was way too early for this type of content delivery, and ultimately other developers showed how to do it right. I mean, the City Skylines games and all their expansions are great. They have a great player base, a community, people that buy into these things because it's done right. SimCity 2013 wasn't. And at this point now, what happened after this one? Technically, a section of Maxis closed down in 2015, and that was cited for the reason. And SimCity now at this point is kind of just reduced to mobile game whateverness. Whateverness? I don't know. Whateverness is SimCity 2013, if you ask us. Next, over at number 3, we have Saints Row. Yeah, the 2022 reboot was a pretty rough game. We reviewed it, we put out a before you buy video, and we were not fans. It was technically an absolute mess, but also it lost so much of the humor and charm that the original games had. Say what you will about them, some people love them, some people hate them, some people like the early ones, some people like the later ones, but Saints Row 3 tried to make all those people happy and ultimately made none of them happy. The game was absolutely completely lifeless, devoid of charm. It had a cool city, but the stuff you did in it wasn't very fun. It was glitchy, and all the characters that you hung out with were shockingly annoying. The game very quickly
That game sucks so bad. I'm so glad I played it on the subscription service.
Embrace your group, and after that, Volition, the developers who had been developing the games since the beginning, got absorbed into parts of Gearbox Entertainment. And it's worth pointing out that Saints Row at a point had like a 60 on Metacritic and like a 2.5 on user score. And credit to the developers, they actually supported it post-launch. They put out a little bit of stuff, but ultimately nobody cared. It's such a shame. Because like I said, whether you like the early ones, whether you like the later ones...
The game looks like a lot of fun, but it really... I think they confuse annoying characters with fun.
They went totally crazy. The Saints Row games were special. They were cool for a lot of people for a variety of different reasons, and Saints Row 2022 seemingly will quickly be forgotten by most people. Hey, if you had fun with it, that's you. We're not going to judge you, but it doesn't seem like Volition is making another one anytime soon, and they were good developers for a very long time, and it's a shame.
Knocking them down. Reload! Reload! Okay, back in the set. Here on out, observe and report.
Now, coming down to number 2, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Yeah, that was the last one. When was the last time you thought about Marvel vs. Capcom? When was the last time you thought about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? Well, the 6th mainline entry in the series, which was released in 2017, just pissed off a lot of players, and there was just a lot of bad PR floating around about it. I mean, specifically with what we've talked about with a lot of games in this video, a lot of the core elements of Marvel vs. Capcom were diluted, watered down, stuff was taken away, and ultimately the game was considered playing it safe. Now, as someone who's not an experienced fighting game fan, I found it kind of just cool to pick up and play and punch some people, but the hardcore fighting game community, man, these games live and die by those people, and if they're not happy, that's it for the game. And that was the case with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Not to mention all the other stuff that they pulled with this, like certain locked characters, microtransaction stuff. I believe a really crappy collector's edition that a lot of people felt got ripped off. There's a lot to this one in the news cycles, but ultimately the game just kind of came and went. And that's how these go. Are we going to see another Marvel vs. Capcom at any point? I don't know. It seems like Marvel is really down the clown with some cool video games again, so maybe, but it has certainly been dead since. Now down to number 1, we have Driver 3, or as I like to call it, Driv 3. This was we were putting the numbers in titles of the games and movies. This was very normal at the time, if I'm being totally honest. But still, Driver 3 was a fantastic series. The original game was completely unique for the original PlayStation, and Driver 2 kind of introduced some like open world, get out of your car type elements. After that, the rise of Grand Theft Auto came, and Driver 3 really was kind of chasing at that game's heels. There was a time when we had like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but then also 2004's Driv 3R. And I mean, if you compare the two, yikes. I mean, where Driver is a little bit more realistic and like a little bit more gritty with some cool car mechanics and physics and stuff like that, it was still a total mess. I mean, the shooting, the third person, anytime you were on the foot,
figuratively and literally.
As a longtime fan of the Driver series since the original game, I forced myself to really like Driver 3. I still think there are some redeeming elements to it, but ultimately it didn't do enough to really blow away mainstream audiences, and it was a technical mess. Like, if you go back and play it now, it's like unplayable almost. Now, to be fair, the Driver series did continue after this. We had the great Driver game that took place in the 70s. We had the really underrated Driver San Francisco, but nothing really reached the height of those original Driver games, and Driver 3 kind of kicked off what would be a very, very slow, years-long decline, to the point where now we're probably not going to see anything from Driver ever again.
I wish I could have played the first Driver game.
San Francisco is
I couldn't
very cool. It is totally different. They changed up the series
because I couldn't get
It's a
past the
unique Driver
goddamn
game that you should still
menu.
consider checking out.
The,
And you
the
should especially
tutorial.
check it out because it might be the last Driver game.
That shit was
It's
hard.
one of those games that killed whole video game franchises, at least in some way, shape, or form. Now, let us know what you think in the comments about this video, because to be frank, there are a lot more examples that we couldn't fit in this video, and you probably have your own suggestions in the comments, so hit us up and we'll make a part 2. Now, if you just like talking games with us, just yapping every day, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
I hear footsteps, but I don't see the matriarch. Where is it?
Many games give you subtle and not so subtle moral choices. Be the good guy, be the bad guy. Every game handles it a little bit differently, and some better than others. Today, we're specifically talking about some games where being the good guy, doing the right thing, is actually punished in some ways. Some games do it in over-the-top ways, some do it more subtly, and some kind of just fail. Nothing is really black and white here. We've got 10 interesting games and how they handle it to talk about today, so let's get started off with number 10. Now, in Vampire, or Vampire, you assume Dr. Jonathan Reed. Fresh from coming back as this field medic from the front lines of World War I, he returns to a London that is being ravaged by the Spanish flu. The only thing is that he wakes up in a mass grave in a gutter, suddenly craving blood. So, yeah. Satisfy his thirst for blood, but he's also a famous doctor and a surgeon, pioneering so in the game, incentivizes you to you also want to progress and grow stronger as a vampire.
Oh my god, how am I almost out of ammo? No way this game.
Significant than you'd expect, and if they're noticed or they're
I can't believe I went through ammo that quickly.
Friends,
Is this Halo?
that map region will decrease. If it decreases too much, the environment becomes more hostile, and enemy characters will kill off NPCs, and you'll lose out on characters and quests, and of course that valuable XP. The game does a really good job of making a lot of the citizens likable, or just clearly having a lot of reasons to stay alive. Sometimes making
He knows. He's what he says when he comes in here.
Role playing and trying to go as a proper good guy playthrough. If you really want to be the good guy doctor who just happens to also be a vampire, and you feel bad about killing a lot of people, avoiding drinking blood means you're weakened, and ultimately you're getting less XP, meaning you're not unlocking as much stuff to use during combat. Enemies just take longer to kill. Now, this isn't as hardcore simulation as you'd expect. It's still an action-adventure game. It's arguable gameplay and stats-wise because you'll still be able to grind a bit to still become somewhat awesome, but the framework is a really cool idea. Even if it doesn't technically punish you as hard as it could for trying to be a nice guy vampire, it still gives you some ramifications, and it makes you think about it. Next over at number 9, let's talk Frostpunk. This game is it's rough, man. You're in charge of the last city on Earth.
That game's so annoying.
Entirely frozen over. Heat is what matters most, and that's what you're constantly working.
I played it, and it's so fun, but it's so annoying.
And alive. The game is a huge fan of just kicking you while you're down, though.
I know. I haven't seen a lot of people because it's the holidays.
Every decision has a big consequence. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Mostly bad. You can send out a search party to find supplies, and they may come back with supplies and survivors to add to your workforce, or they could all die. And even having more survivors on your workforce means you have more mouths to feed and more homes to heat. To succeed in the game, I guess you're trying to be the good guy. You have to use your sense of right and wrong to move forward, but the game is happy to show you that everything can be a gray area, or that doing the right thing often ends up having unintended consequences, or maybe doing the right thing actually can mean going too far. You know, maybe people keep dying, the citizens demand you build a cemetery, and then maybe too many workers freeze to death burying the bodies, or the graves make nearby people sick. Like, for every good guy decision, the game screws you over in some way. It is the literal personification.
I haven't seen Metal Titan anywhere. I've seen them in my comment section, but I haven't seen them in the Discord or in my lives.
Again, and everyone is dead, and you need to use child labor now. Have fun. Or if you don't pay attention, people are going to start a cult, or they're all going to rebel against you. Like, it's just like a turbo evil way of making you feel like this politician in a very divided landscape. Like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Frostpunk looks really cool on the surface as like a, oh cool, it's like a city building strategy game. It's kind of like Snowpiercer, sweet, but it is pure pain. The decisions are really hard, and coming out morally good feels almost impossible. Next over at number 8, let's switch gears and talk Infamous. Now, this is a simple one, and one that's debatable, but we wanted to talk about it. In the Infamous games, there is a morality system. You know, you do good things, you get good guy points. Do bad things, get bad guy points. A lot of games do this. We talk about Fable a lot here, but we wanted to highlight Infamous today because we really like it. And in these games, Cole McGrath or Delson Rowe reflect the player's choices. Visually, they look more good with like lighter clothing, or more evil with darker red badass clothes. And their powers are different. Good guy powers are more focused on healing and accuracy and controlled power, where the bad guy powers are about chaos and destruction. There are legitimate benefits to both, and it's usually just a matter of taste as to what you want to do for fun, but for today's sake, let's play devil's advocate. For a lot of folks, man, it's just not as fun to be a good guy in these types of games. Worrying about civilian casualties and having to run around carefully and revive people and all that is lame. Worrying about restraining enemies is tedious and nowhere near as cool as just the outright chaos and destruction you can cause with all those bad guy powers, right? Like, the game saves all the coolest stuff for the bad guys. They even look cooler, and that's why we think this game actually can punish you a little bit for playing good, because you don't really get to see all the really cool stuff. Again,
Not gonna lie, the bad guy does look cooler in this game. Even in Star Wars as a Sith, they just look cooler.
Next over at number 7, let's talk about the PC classic Pathologic. Now, trying to save people in this game is hard, especially like if you don't know the gist of the game and you just kind of go into it. It's kind of just like a misery simulator, if you ask me. But you go into this game thinking you have to help this like plague disease-ridden, strange, vague town, but it is much trickier than that. Pathologic and its sort of remake too aren't clear-cut games, and they are weird, experimental, and not for everyone. But
Okay. Oh, the New Year's.
like it, man, they really like it because it's different, but it's also not really a game for nice guy playthroughs. I'll actually use the developer's description because it's so well worded. Basically, morals and good deeds are meaningless in the face of raw despair and endless need. The way the game kind of goes down, like I said, it's like you choose from 2 and then eventually 3 characters, thinking that you can kind of help people in this town, but you quickly realize how much you're really going to need to put in just to even save yourself. Every decision ultimately starts to amount to screwing someone over. There's a lot of meta to it. There's like all little things to discover with how these games play out. There's a reason people love them, but they are not black and white games for sure. Next over at number 6, Mass Effect. It's not a series that immediately comes to mind if I want to think of it punishing the player for trying to be the good guy, but there's little things worth pointing out. So for context, the Paragon Renegade system is like the thing, right? Everybody knows about it by now. Paragon is the good spaceman.
Okay, I got bored of this. Let's see what else can we put. Let's watch this guy. I have a feeling his opinion's gonna be stupid, but we'll watch it anyways.
Curious how video game hardware has been faring, well, Circana has some interesting data that points out that it is not going great. Now, this was a story from a few days ago, but Matt Piscatella put out some data. He loves data. I love his data. It's all great stuff, except if you're a console manufacturer, because it points a pretty not great picture about where we are at in terms of console hardware. U.S. video game hardware total units sold and average price paid November 1995 through November 2025. Now, this was posted not that long ago, but you can see the bar under November 2025. You see how it's potentially lower or about as low as it was in 1995. That means that, unfortunately,
For as many fires that California has, the fact that you guys still allow fireworks is beyond me.
Video game hardware unit sales aren't going great. And that orange line there, look at this orange line. You see stuff sold here, and it had a conflict. Average selling price is up here at around $450, and consoles sold are down here. Now, if you're a console manufacturer, maybe you're going to use this data and say, yeah, okay, our prices are way out of whack. Maybe we need to figure out a way to bring things down for consumers. But if you have been following what's going on in the market, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is prices are going to go up. Now, I know that sounds crazy to say, but there is a good reason for that. It's because RAM prices and hard drive prices and everything else are going up. Now, let's talk a little bit about what is going on here. Matt Piscatella broke it down really, really nice, but everybody painted a very bleak picture about this. November's data shows gaming
Poor doggy.
struggling to reach beyond the core being console owners and console manufacturers. U.S. game console sales crater in worst November in 2 decades. Absolutely harrowing headline. A nightmare November for video game console sales as the big three all drop in the U.S. Console sales basically tanked. Now, this is Windows Central. They also were talking about Mac.
Of course it tanks. We don't have money. Like, they just raised the prices of the games. Like, what do you want from us? We don't have any money.
Piscatella here, and they sort of break it down. Xbox Series hardware sales declined by 70% year over year, while PlayStation 5 sales fell by more than 40%. Combined Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 unit sales were down by around 10%, which stands out as relatively resilient by comparison. Now, the Switch 2 is selling very, very well. It is a hugely popular console, but even it is struggling in November, and it is priced.
Well, that scared the fuck out of me.
Pricing appears to be a major factor. The average price of video game hardware
You scared the fuck out of me, Gabby. Holy shit.
In November, up 11% year over year, making consoles more expensive than ever during what is usually a peak buying period. Now, I'm probably going to make an entirely separate video about why that is, but long story short, it's because the components are rising in prices, manufacturers weren't prepared for this increase, and it's causing them to scramble to come up with ways to mitigate the current situation we're in. There's a notable RAM manufacturer that just said, hey, we're going to stop making RAM, and that has seen RAM prices
Thank you, AI.
increase in the last few days. But also there's the consumer market to consider here. Carl pointed out that the U.S. economy is in a hiring recession. Almost no jobs have been added since April. Wage gains are slowing. 710,000 more people are unemployed now versus November 2024. Now, this is the U.S. economy, and this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which shows that in November there were 64,000 jobs, in October negative 105,000 jobs, and this is like the last few months. It's just not looking so great for the employment field, and that means obviously that people are spending less money.
Yeah.
Stella has a whole thread about what is going on here. Let's take a look at like who actually did well in the business here. November 2025 U.S. video game market highlights. Thread from Circana. The release of Call of Duty Black Ops 7.
Just by the way, games. I think this is the worst games have sold on the holiday season since 1999. No, I'm not.
7 marked the 18th consecutive year that a COD franchise release has been the best-selling game of its release month, while PS5 led hardware in both unit and dollar sales. So PS5, the older generation of hardware, is actually still beating out everybody else in the business. Video game total projected spending across video game hardware, content, and accessories fell 4% when compared to a year ago to $5.9 billion. Hardware, accessories, and console content declines drove change. November 2025, the best-selling premium games included Call of Duty, Battlefield, NBA, Madden, EA Sports, Pokemon, Ghost of Yotei, EA Sports, Minecraft, and Kirby Air Riders. 2025 year-to-date, the top 20 best-selling premium games. This is for the whole year. Battlefield 6, NBA, Monster Hunter, Borderlands. He had a correction post about this somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. Corrected reporting period for the year-to-date bestsellers chart.
Has Logan been at the door of the bathroom the whole
time? Yeah.
Because Blue Sky. So
he's scared of the fire. He's been waiting for you. What were you doing?
But I think he's just doing year-to-date. 2025 year-to-date with corrected prices. And yeah, long story short, hardware isn't doing wonderful. And there's been a lot of talks about this. So this was published on December 8th. A lot of people were highlighting how Xbox is having a lot of difficulties selling their hardware.
Xbox is having difficulties?
Make no mistake about it. Xbox is going to struggle in the hardware business, especially
That's an understatement.
X and S just continually raising their prices. PlayStation, to compare, has had one price increase. A lot of people are estimating that another is on the way. And Gizmodo just decided to just talk about Xbox, even though we know everybody else is down. Now, Rob Fahey, he's had...
Yeah, just not as much as Xbox.
He's had stuff that I vehemently disagreed with during the Activision Blizzard era. But he sort of hits the nail on the head here. November's data shows gaming struggling to reach beyond the core. Warning signs for recession have been flashing all year, but the U.S. sales slump is the starkest sign yet of how vulnerable the industry's narrow focus has made it. Now, the one point that I would say about all this is I think more people than ever are using the hardware that they
that motherfucker jumped off.
Them, and we did a video yesterday about how there's a big chance that the next generation of consoles aren't going to be coming for the near future, that cloud is going to become a big focus because physical hardware is becoming more and more expensive, and services like Game Pass could actually end up looking more...
I don't think cloud's going to be more of a thing.
Buy the physical hardware, but
it's not possible with people's internet in the United States, unfortunately.
So, unfortunately...
I can. A lot of people on the stream can, but... yeah, most people can't.
Already widely discussed, but it's hard to overstate just how bad they are. Hardware sales are down 27% year-on-year to reach a 20-year low. Software and services managed only a meager 1% year-on-year growth. On the one hand, we shouldn't extrapolate too much from a single month of data. After all, 2025 is still on track to show a narrow sliver of growth overall, unless December turns out to be an absolute nightmare.
It is going to be.
That turns the narrative dial from sinking to treading water, which is still not where an industry whose finances rely on high growth would wish it to be. I have an unfortunate prediction for you for 2026. I think the video game market is going to have an incredibly difficult year in 2026, even though the software, like on the gamer side, I do think you're going to see a lot of great games, but I think in terms of the overall business,
I think it's going to be a tough year. I think we're going to see more safe bets. I think that's why we've seen rumors about, Black Flag being spun up at Ubisoft. I think these companies really need easy wins. They need to get back to the core things that gamers love about video games and just really nail it, like hit it out of the park.
There's going to be less risk taking, essentially.
It certainly hasn't been working. It hasn't been resonating. Now, Call of Duty, probably one of the most panned Call of Duty campaigns of all time, still selling that well. Great for them, but even they are saying, yeah, we're going to pump the brakes a little bit on the next Call of Duty. And I think that's honestly the right move. So for me, I don't think we see anything about next-gen hardware in 2026. I think that we are going to see a lot of safer bets in 2026. I think we see continued contraction in 2026. And why am I making these predictions? It's because of just all of the signs.
The writing's on the wall.
People not spending a lot of money. People are concerned about having employment. People are worried about, just the basic necessities of life right now. And consoles and video game are a luxury. Often in times of hardship, people will go towards escapism and playing video games, but
my game is lagging up a storm
because they've become so prohibitively expensive that people can just watch, I hate to say it, TikTok or YouTube and get that dopamine hit that they want instead of spending nearly $1,000 for a console and a game.
Valid though.
To bring them that.
That's why you should watch me and subscribe.
Maybe I'm way off base here, but I think the console market is going to have a tough next 5 years because they literally can't make new hardware at a reasonable price point. I have to wonder if the RAM issue is going to impact things like the Steam machine that I'm very excited to see. But if that thing comes out and it's $1,200 because of RAM prices, because of component prices, that's not going to be great. That's not going to be great for sales. That's not going to be great for the consumer. And I think we see a lot of, as I said, safe bets in the near future. Anyway, I didn't get the chance to make a video about how the hardware business is doing. We have things like the Next Playground selling out everywhere, and it's basically a Kinect where you can play Kinect-style games on it. And we have the console hardware struggling in November 2025, and we're on the tail end of where these consoles are. Do we need new hardware, though? No, I don't think we do. I think we need developers optimizing their games better.
Fuck that. I don't want a PlayStation 6 till 2028.
Especially if
let me pay my bills, goddammit.
Manufacturers to develop new hardware, and honestly, PC manufacturers also are going to be releasing components at prohibitively expensive prices. So it's just you're kind of getting hit from all angles here, and it's just really something that needs to be talked about a little bit more, I think, because I think it's going to have a
oh hell yeah. Get it.
Everybody's going to be looking to tighten their belts in their houses, and everybody's going to be looking to tighten their belts in their businesses. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Console sales are down across the board. I am glad to see people picking up the Switch, picking up PlayStation 5s. I've talked many times about how Xbox is in a very dangerous position in terms of where they are at for their hardware, but we are where we are, and it's just, they flatlined ahead of holidays.
Followed by Jolly Rancher
prices are going up, sales are going
nice.
down, and prices might go up again. But why bother when you're not selling anything anyway? Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Thank you to the members, Chris Reddy, Phil Aroni, and Aries EMS. I do greatly appreciate you. I'm going to get out of here. Check my video yesterday about the RAM issue that Insider Gaming is reporting will cause the next generation consoles to be delayed. See you for the next one.
You go, so he's all this talk, right? And
Whoa, get off of me, get off of me. Dude, I was looting. You don't do that while I'm looting. Tried to. Let's see. No, no possible.
I'm gonna get back to that story, Sonny. Just you listen to Boomer, Great One. He's gonna tell you about how it was back in the olden days, back before fire, back when we walked uphill for everything. In fact, we didn't even have a concept of downhill because there was no downhill. Everything was uphill. We thought that was normal. We didn't even have a word for it because there was no alternative. It was uphill all the time. You just need to reach down and grab yourself by your bootstraps and pull yourselves up, Sonny. Because when I was your age, I bought a house for $25,000. And I made that money on my paper route and busting tables at the local cafe.
Oh.
If I could do it, you can do it too. You just need to reach down and pull yourself up and just buckle up there, buckaroo. God, I hate boomers.
My recent experience with video games is way more complicated than it should be, which is way more complicated than what is already way more complicated for those of you who are currently trying to play modern day video games, because my house got hit by lightning and it fried my Xbox One, and I wasn't all that happy with Xbox One.
Is it?
So I had to get a PS5. I'm not all that happy with PS5 because it's a fucking computer with a joystick and no keyboard. Gabby, you can buy a keyboard. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. And I am old. I am old. And
No.
How old are you, Cappy? I'm so old. I remember when you put in the cartridge,
Like the sparkler
you turned it on
firework.
and you just played. That's how old I am. I'm so old. I remember that if it didn't work, you just blow on
It
a
sounds
little
like
bit,
it sounded
put
like
in,
rain.
and it would play. I'm so old. I remember when graphics mattered, right?
You
Graphics
started
were
healing and
practically
over there
different.
with
You could
Cherry.
actually see a significant jump, and now it's PS4 versus PS5. Does anyone even say graphics anymore?
Did I get everything?
And you dumb motherfuckers in the video game
Okay.
industry, you don't
I
fucking.
don't want to watch him.
Head home at the water treatment elevator.
Okay. You okay, Logan?
Okay, so 2026 obviously has a lot of big games launching, but I wanted to review some of them, discuss some of them, because 2025 ended up being sort of a surprising year. There were some games that probably actually a lot of us thought it was going to be good. I don't think anybody expected it to be as good as it was, or certainly to be received the way it was, and to kind of break into the name. So I think that there's odds of there being another one of those types of games in 2026 that ends up being massive.
Why is everything attacking me?
Surpassing everybody's expectations and ending up being nominated for Game of the Year against GTA 6. So what that sleeper wild card game could be based on the trailer. Now, I have a couple of ideas on what it could be good, but of course, probably launches next year. That's Ken Levine's next game. At this point, I would have said like 3 months ago BioShock was coming too, but they basically just restarted development on that, apparently, it seems like. So that's probably not coming anymore. But I think Judas should be ready. Of course, like AC Hexe should be coming. Black Flag Remake still hasn't been announced yet, but it should be coming as well. Tides of Annihilation, stuff like that.
I love that game. That's probably one of the only Assassin's Creed games that I enjoyed it all the way through.
Let me know your thoughts in the chat. That's why it's on screen. And if you're watching the recap, just make sure to like the video and subscribe, because a lot of you who watch the stream clips aren't subscribed, and that's stupid. So subscribe, damn it. Or don't. I'm not your dad. I can't force you to. The first one I want to touch on, of course, is hotly anticipated, and I do think ends up reviewing well. And it's sort of like it's the most obvious one in the first chunk of the year that everybody is just kind of like, yeah, it's going to be really good. And that's, of course, Resident Evil Requiem.
What's up, man? How you doing?
You know, interestingly, in 2025, the assumption was that, like, Monster Hunter Wilds was going to end up being Game of the Year contender, and it ended up launching unoptimized, pretty buggy, broken, rushed out the door, and it was kind of a letdown for a lot of people. I don't think this is going to be a repeat.
You okay? Can you pat him?
Going to review well and be received well, but I'm not sure if this ends up like smashing all expectations. I don't know what the vibe is. I think it'll be good. I'm guessing it's in that like high 80s range, but I'm not sure if this is like, gonna do a ton of stuff totally new and different to really shake up the formula. Because it seems to be an interesting melding of a lot of the learnings they've had from, of course, the recent games, but also some of the remakes that they've been doing. It's gonna be really interesting, but I also don't hear a lot of people talking about it as well. Like, I think people will play it and buy it. It'll sell really well, but it's certainly not generating a ton of excitement in that same way as, like, GTA would be, of course.
Hey man, hope you're having a good day. Love your vids. The
Thank
game
you.
I'm looking forward to besides Wolverine, but I'm looking forward to Jurassic Park Survival. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, is that one we got the trailer with the girl walking around? I think that's the one.
Jesus.
If it's executed well. I mean, that's the big question. If it's executed well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. A lot of those like licensed games, I'm always pretty skeptical of. Thank you for the 50. That's ridiculously generous. That's insane. But yeah, Wolverine is also a huge one we'll talk about in a minute, because that one also I think is going to be interesting to watch. But we'll circle back to it. Thank you again for the 50. Crazy generous. As for going back to Resident Evil, I think again this does well. I'm just interested in seeing if it's fresh enough to like really pierce into that mainstream in the way that some of these other games that we're going to talk about, I think, have the chance to. It's kind of cringe to say, but I do think a lot of games nowadays, a lot of the more casual audience, they rely on like viral content and moments in order to decide what they want to jump into.
It's not,
that means they
not a lie.
YouTube videos, on stream clips, on TikToks, on YouTube Shorts. Like, their friends send them a video of something crazy, and it could be just some really cool monster design in Resident Evil that gets them excited. They're like, oh, I want to play that. Or it could be that there's some funny moment that happens in a multiplayer game. But that type of thing is helping games explode right now. And I'm interested to see what they do here. But what I do know about Resident Evil is that they have a lot that they have not shared. Like, a lot. Like, the stuff that they've shown so far is but a sliver. So I fully expect there to be a lot of big surprises. And it seems like specifically they are trying to learn the lessons from Resident Evil 8, which, like, what drove me crazy about that game was that you play it and then, like, towards the end, it just turns into like a crappy Call of Duty mission. No like story spoilers or anything, but like it just kind of lost focus and got weird. It was like, what are we doing anymore? I hope they don't have that problem here. And apparently they will split it between the two protagonists, so their playstyles will be different, and that'll help it feel less dissonant, but it'll be interesting.
Did I not build it?
$20 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Leon is what got me kinda hooked on the Resident Evil franchise. Not a huge fan playing as Ethan's daughter, but that's just me.
No, I mean, it's just about your preference and taste, so if you're not feeling it, that's totally fine. I think it's going to be interesting to see, like, old school fans, of course, are eating it up, that, like, they've seen Leon. I don't know if normies care,
I'm interested to see the reception. Genuinely interested. The next game I want to tackle is one that I think has the potential to like really explode into that mainstream spot. And that's of course Crimson Desert. The reason I think this has the potential to do that is because this thing is overflowing with like, you know, those videos or like those old school things in school when like your buddy comes in and tells you, did you see this? Did you look over here in the game and find this weapon? Or did you see this boss fight is hidden
the new
inside
one.
this cave? It's something
All
that
right.
I felt again with Elden Ring.
Oh,
like when I was
in a while.
talking
Okay.
to my buddies from college, be like, did you see that there's a boss on this spot of the map? And I take a picture and I send it to them and I'm like, if you go here and then you go do this, you can find this like sunflower looking ass boss, and it's really cool. This game gives me similar vibes that there's going to be a lot of stuff like that, whether it's cool creative ways to get through puzzles or boss fights, or if it's just the scope and scale of it. I think that it has a lot of potential for those types of viral, unexpected things that excite people. What I will also say is that the official reveal trailer, this is something I mentioned in my video on Crimson Desert on the main channel recently. What's interesting is that this original trailer showed a lot more cinematics that we've not seen
Can I have some?
since. And I'm hoping they're still in the game because some of this looks awesome.
Not what I meant, but okay.
You see what I'm talking about? Like with the crazy cinematics and stuff. Bear in mind, when this trailer dropped, the game was still an MMO. Let that sink in. This was an MMO when they put this trailer together. Now it is not an MMO. Now it's a single player adventure game. But when this trailer was put together, it was announced as an MMO. You can see in the description. Watching the game reveal trailer for Crimson Desert, MMO RPG and the second to be brought by Perlibit, the creators of the Black Desert franchise. Like some of this stuff, man. I see these clips like
What?
or this one with the guy chained up. Like this looks cinematic as hell and awesome. But we've not seen this again in trailers. So if they have this level of
second wave.
in the game and they just haven't been showing it because they don't want to spoil stuff, I think that could help it really explode. Because if it has the level of gameplay complexity and depth that we've seen showcased all over the world at all these shows, and it has this level of like cinematic depth and quality, dude, I think we're in for a treat. I really think so. Especially we've seen but a sliver of like some of the boss fights and stuff. And what we do know is, like from even Black Myth Wukong, just having a couple of really badass boss encounters can be enough for your game to go viral and explode in popularity. Like it's maybe too bad that it can be that simple sometimes, but seriously, that's what it can come down to a lot of the time. They showed, for example, where's the dragon?
I haven't played it yet, but I have a feeling Black Myth Wukong isn't it all it's cracked up to be.
One of the things they're showing. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine what they're not showing, what they've kept private, what like the final boss fights like? Like, I think the odds of virality go up significantly, and that helps games explode. It's one of the benefits that helped Expedition 33 blow up in popularity was just that it had so many moments that were just crazy, beautiful, and tear-jerking and heart-wrenching, and I think that's really going to help it. Motion capture? Assassin's Creed could never. But, like, look at this. Look at this. Look at that boy. Look at that boy.
What game is this?
Damn. Damn. My primary concern, of course, and I've said this 1,000 times.
Is this Crimson Desert?
Is just performance. Because the gameplay footage that they show runs really, really well. The console footage
I'm glad it's not an MMO.
Definitely relying a lot on upscalers, so I'm optimistic that they can polish it, but that's the big question mark for me.
Donated $10 through Super Chat. Time to Schlee 5090s.
Dude,
Too
Schlee.
bad I only have one.
I would love it if it was unironically called sleeing. Can you imagine? I have to slee my graphics cards. Well, and this is one thing that I do think
I'm definitely getting Crimson Desert. Look at the way that shit looks.
This is a game built in a proprietary engine, and this is me confessing. This is me.
Ah!
Okay. I tend to look at games and instinctively put it through the filter in my mind of Unreal Engine. When I see a game like this, I'm like, open world, Unreal, it's gonna run like ass. Like that's just what I default to, you know? But that's not what this is. This is an engine that's been built by a company, basically from scratch for open world adventure
I feel a little bit bad for Unreal Engine.
Built for this game, not built to be generic, kind of a catch-all engine, and then it's being reworked for this game. And I think that's an important distinction. It still means you need to polish and refine and stuff, but I have to put myself in the mindset of like, this is not an Unreal Engine game. So just because Unreal Engine games would struggle with this does not mean that this game necessarily will struggle with it. It's probably going to struggle with other things, but I think that's important to stress, is that this is a tool set that they've built pretty much from the ground up for what they wanted to do here, which is going to be interesting to see how they pull it off. It's the same thing why like people were saying for some of Ubisoft stuff, like with Avatar Frontiers Pandora, they had a bunch of foliage, like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. They had, where's just is this just, yeah, this is a snippet that's good enough. They wanted to have all of this foliage in Pandora like blowing in the wind realistically with the gusts of wind that carried through. So they built out the tech in their, is it Frost? No, it's not Frostbite. Snowdrop, I think is what.
Snowdrop Engine.
I always get Frostbite and Snowdrop mixed up for some reason. I think it's Snowdrop. They built that out to make it possible and make it work. But if you were trying to do just this one very specific thing in Unreal Engine, your frame rate would be in the 20s, you know? But it's because that they built this very specific thing around what they wanted to pull off, with like all of the foliage blowing in the wind, which other games would, or other engines may struggle with. Doesn't mean that this game is perfect. It just means that like particular things that other engines may struggle with, this one may not, because it's been built to achieve that very specific thing, you know. Crimson Desert, I think that one's gonna pop off and be huge. Another obvious one for us to discuss, another game that I think is, it probably has a lot of mass market appeal just in the fact that it's a very recognizable IP, and that's 007. This one launches in May.
This game is being made by the Hitman people. It's gonna be good.
Everybody's heard of 007. So when, I mean, you imagine like the TV commercials, the more casual gamer who's not that like in tune with common discourse in the gaming community, they're gonna see this and immediately go, oh, a new 007 game that's like kind of looks like Uncharted. Oh, cool. I think that they're gonna immediately get what it's trying to do. So I think that helps it right off the bat with like that mainstream appeal. They've also recently delayed it from March into May, seemingly to polish and refine.
Okay.
The CEO said.
Oh no.
So that is great news. They're going to take time to polish.
Where is it? Oh shit.
And it's covering up a loading zone, but I think the more obvious part where it started chugging was this right here, where the frame rate just plummeted. It's a cool sequence, a really cool sequence using like actual physics sim and all this to clear out a level. This is legitimately a cool idea, to shift the plane and get the weight to shift to throw the truck into the bad guys. That's cool. It just doesn't run very well. Like, look, oh god, it's probably down at like 10 frames.
Anyone have a defib?
Maybe, like it is struggling, and even then, like if we pause it, it's needing to rely on upscalers pretty heavily to hit this frame rate still. So this is, as far as I understand it, on a base PS5. So it's like the Series S would be worst case scenario, but it's the weaker console certainly, but they need to improve it. Like it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. So seeing that they've delayed it, I think is it at least puts a little more confidence in me and leaves me more optimistic. You can see that this was uploaded September 3rd, just to give you an idea of how this typically works. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. My mouth can't even keep up with what I'm saying. When I went to Copenhagen to see this, I spoke to them and they said that this was the same demo that was shown at Gamescom. Gamescom was earlier, like a few weeks before in August. Typically, demos like this are put together like a month, 2 months, 3 months before the event, because they have to like have a totally separate pipeline and process for locking it down and verifying it and polishing it up and everything. So this very likely is a section of gameplay from early summer. Like it could be from June
or earlier. Like, that's not outside the realm of possibility with how this typically works in game development. And as a result, like, we're talking about now,
Can't believe I
close to
got
a
killed
full
by that
year of
fucking thing.
polish from when this footage was put together, or this version of the game. And so when you realize that, you start to like, okay, they could make significant strides, but I think they need to, because if it runs like that at launch, there will be videos made about it. But if they can polish it up, I think it could really change the narrative and instill a lot of confidence that people would eat it up. As for other things, like they announced that Lenny Kravitz, of course, is the bad guy, or one of the bad guys. They just said a villain, I believe is how they phrased it. But Lenny Kravitz is going to be in it. I know some people have been suspicious or skeptical or don't like the casting. I like Lenny Kravitz as a performer, and I think he's going to do well in the role. We'll see how it's written, of course, but as far as casting's concerned, I like it. I like Lenny Kravitz. Call me, cancel me, just my opinion. Cancel me, I don't care. So there's that. And I think other stuff that they're going to do, I'm sure they're going to have like their own exclusive song or whatever produced and written. We'll see how that turns out, but that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out as well. The obvious one, before, people keep messaging it in chat, let's just get it out of the way. The GTA 6 elephant in the room. This one, frankly, I would be shocked if it's delayed out of 2026. I think it has to come out in 2026. Like, at this point,
Either it comes out
2
or it
years
dies.
if it gets delayed into 2027, and I just would be stunned if that happened. Like, typically, Rockstar does the first delay, just pushing it back to another year, and then they delay it to, like, the spring, and then they delay it to the fall and lock it in. It's what happened with Red Dead 2, for example, and I think that that's a pretty safe bet for how they typically do things. And it's a good amount of polish time and refinement time for them, like a full year and a half, 2 years of polish. That should probably make sense and help. I think it's going to come out in November. If it gets pushed to early 27, I'd be very, very surprised. But realistically, in terms of reception, I mean, obviously it's going to have crazy mass market appeal. Tons of people are going to play this. I've said for a long time, I think that you're going to see like a quantifiable dip in productivity across like the globe. I think you're going to see places that employ a lot of like gamer demographics, like young adult men. There's going to be mass call outs from work for people that want to take time off to play this. I think you're going to see like energy supply strained because everybody's at home downloading and playing the game. I think internet service providers will be struggling to like support the downloads, because realistically, I don't think they're going to let you pre-download this. I think it's going to be download it the second it launches, because they don't want leaks. So you're not going to get anything like that. I think there's probably going to be just across the board, it's going to be insane. There's never been a game this hyped or this anticipated, and as a result, it's going to be tough to live up to the expectations, but they know that. And Rockstar is like the one company who somehow never really disappoints people. You could say there's a first time for everything. Absolutely, there always is. People said, I remember in the lead up to Cyberpunk, it was like, no, they made The Witcher 3. There's no way they could blow it. People said No Man's Sky. The game looks incredible. How could they screw this up? So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But again, I'd be shocked if it gets pushed to 27.
I think even if they screw it up, I think they'll fix it right away. Rockstar's not about to lose its reputation over a layup, in my opinion.
Not really a hot take. It's not crazy. Not crazy, but I think that probably happens. I think The Expanse is one to really keep an eye on. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't been like locked in for 2026. It's just coming soon. It'll come when it's ready or whatever. But this one is in a mainstream IP. There's a TV show, book series, everything for it. And it is crazy high production value from what we've seen. This is the segment of like actual gameplay here in a second that we'll see. And it's coming from Owlcat. Owlcat, I've been telling you, dude, Owlcat, like, they very well could end up being the next, like, the art of have a big focus and priority on role-playing games. If you've never tried like Rogue Trader or anything like that, like they know what they're doing. So I think that they could end up blowing up and being huge.
They are gonna blow up.
We'll see what this looks like and timeline-wise what it's like, but I think that this could certainly scratch like a Mass Effect itch for a lot of people in a very real way. Another one, just to give a quick honorable mention, that I think realistically is coming like 2027. More realistically, it could show up with a surprise launch date next fall though. And that's Blood Message. This is a game from a studio that was put together by, I believe the full name is 24 Entertainment Studio in conjunction with NetEase Thunderfire. But it's basically a studio put
What are
together
you barking at?
and it's been built specifically to make games like this.
Dude, my sister would beat you up with both hands tied behind her back. I don't know what you're trying to do.
Like from Naughty Dog, it just looks insane, and it's outrageous. So this one is expected probably in the next 18 months, but whether that slips in.
Oh man, he took everything already.
Time will tell.
Fuck.
All my timeline estimations for like Western studios are typically like fairly straightforward, but when you're talking about Chinese studios, for example, all bets are off. All bets are off. They don't give two craps about crunch. They don't give two craps about like having 3,000 employees working on it. They'll just do what they need to do. So they could pump this out relatively quickly compared to what we would typically expect from like a AAA game like this. Yeah, Chinese Crunch is coming out tomorrow. Exactly. You just never know, dude. Like, it's a different beast entirely what they're able to do. They have amazingly talented people working on these games, and they have thousands of them, and they like culturally don't have this aversion or concern over like crunch and things like that. They just don't. So it's one to keep an eye on for sure. But I think that one, if it launches, I think that could blow up on the same level of like the Black Myth Wukong.
Took
Because,
everything.
Again, that was a game that, of course, had a lot of Chinese like national pride in it, where there were stories of students being let out of class to go and play Black Myth Wukong to like support Chinese developers. And also, like with this, I think you're going to see similar stuff where it's just like so cinematic and crazy.
Guess I'll go fuck myself.
That I mean, all of these clips. I think you see any of this stuff, you're like, you see this on your phone quickly when you're scrolling through TikTok or X or whatever. It's going to catch your eye, and I think that there's going to be only more and more segments like that. So Blood Message is one to keep an eye on for sure as well, I think. Another one that I'm also interested in, I'm not sure how much this pierces the mainstream veil, though, just to be perfectly honest. I want it to, but I'm not sure, is the Blood of Dawnwalker. I always want to say Blood of the Dawnwalker. I don't know why, but it's Blood of Dawnwalker. This is the game from former Witcher 3 devs, and it's very interesting because like the whole idea is that you are sort of half man, half vampire, and like everything plays out differently whether you're playing at night or in the daytime. So in the daytime you play as a human, in the nighttime you play.
The reason why Cyberpunk was so bad because a lot of developers that work on The Witcher just pieced out. And it wasn't that they didn't have good developers, it was the fact that they had developers that weren't seasoned veterans that could push out a game in 3 years. They needed way more time than that. And I guess that's where these guys went to.
As a vampire. And you have different combat styles for both. There's different questing opportunities available for both. And your like playthrough will be totally different based on what you're doing and when. So I think it's like built in that you could have two playthroughs where basically you have a vampire run and a human run, and you just see how different they are. And then maybe a run where you mix the two together, which is probably how most people play. But it seems really, really interesting. The gameplay dynamics are crazy, and I think that it's a game that a lot of people are going to love dearly. However, I feel like in order to understand you have to kind of have it explained to you.
Am I stuck in here?
It clicks and is really cool, and I think that there may be some people that fall off when you're trying to grasp it, like that want something a little more linear. But this like is checking off so many boxes for me. I think it looks fantastic. I can't wait to see more, and it keeps getting better and better and more polished as they've shown more and more. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. I can't wait. But it's coming next year, barring any sort of delay. And yeah, Pirates and Vampire.
I think I already went there. Never mind.
Games have also gotten a bad rep recently, but we need more. We need more. To go through the actual release schedule, though, to give you this. Okay, we have a bunch of games. Yeah, like Pathological. A lot of these I'm gonna kind of blow past. It's not to say they're bad games or that I hate the developers. I'm not saying that. It's just, you know, obviously we're gonna focus on the big stuff that this community will recognize or find compelling. So, like, let's start with Don't Stop Girly Pop. This game, obviously, we've wanted to cover a lot. It looks actually looks pretty fire. I'm gonna be real. Let's go Girly Pop. The flip phone dude and a Tamagotchi. Was that a Tamagotchi? That was Tamagotchi back in the day. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Okay. This is baller. Tamagotchi confirmed. Anyway, going back to the full schedule. We have a number of games like, for example, Code Vein 2. I know some of you guys have mentioned that one. That one is an anime Souls-like sequel. If you played the original Code Vein, you know what that is, and you're going to be interested. Fairly straightforward. Lost Isle, this one, I believe is built around crafting and, of course, like exploration, but it's specifically designed for 100+ player PvP and PvE server options. So, you know, reminiscent of games like Ark or Rust and things like that. Once we get to February, oh wait, how could I? Of course, there's another game launching in January that we can't skip. Do they not have it, or am I looking right at it? I think I might. Yeah, somehow I'm missing it. Of course, the other one for January that we're going to be looking at is Highguard. It comes out January 26th. This one we're going to be checking out. I don't know if it's going to be great or terrible. We'll see. As for some of the other stuff in this period, so January, February, March, there's probably a few things coming that we just don't know about. For example, the Black Flag remake. The Black Flag remake, I do think, just being honest, cancel me, I don't care, it's just my opinion. I think the Black Flag remake could end up exploding and being like really big.
I hope they have an online aspect of it. Because it honestly felt on the first one, the boat part of the game felt like they put all their effort into it, because you can like hunt whale, you can be a pirate and like just pirate the fuck out of people, or you could have a whole fleet where you can send out to fight the other fleets while you're fighting in order to like gain like ammo and food and stuff like that. So it felt like they wanted to make this an online, but they just never did.
Explode, because again, people are playing remakes for nostalgia a lot of the time, and I know a lot of people who probably would describe themselves as like more casual fans of gaming that maybe play like one game. They play Fortnite or they play Call of Duty or Rocket League, but they spent some of their teen years or formative years playing Black Flag back in the day, because that was also like a big mainstream game. And I think a remake that starts to
okay, well, I missed every shot.
I think that could explode and be huge. They could also totally screw it up. We saw, like, you remember the initial announcement for the Prince of Persia remake? Remember that? 5 years ago, announced trailer. The dagger's so powerful, the graphics went back in time. Like, if it's something where it's just not quite on the level of what people are expecting, and it's just like a little funky, it probably doesn't. Like, it may still be fine, but I think people are expecting like modern standards. So if they can pull that off, then I think that could work. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake. Yeah, they also moved that over. I think it's at Montreal now, so I think we should see that. I think maybe in the same period, but we'll see.
Fake NATO donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Don't forget the even bigger news than GTA V. Lego Batman. All aside, I am probably going to no like that game as well because Rocksteady has lost all my faith in a continuation one day.
Dude, I think it looks fire. I think Lego Man. Yeah, this one is another one for date.
Why is there 3 of them outside?
I don't know if it has a release date yet, but this one does look fire. It's like literally they took everything from the Arkham series, May 29th. Okay, that's it. They took everything that like Rocksteady learned from the Arkham series, it seems, and then all the learnings from the Lego games, and then they put it all together into this game, which just seems to be the perfect melding of the two. And bro, I'm so here for it. I am so here for it. This is like exactly, in my opinion, what the Lego franchise needed in the game space. Because I grew up playing Lego games. I thought they were great back in the day, but no one can make a series like that. So please validate if you agree. I need it to play this game. I feel like they made Lego games way too complicated. Okay, sorry, cancel. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. But bro, when I'm going through a level and I have to find 35 different little bitty tiny random bricks to go back and then craft something else that I can use to get another little brick, like it drives me crazy. It drove me crazy. Especially because I grew up playing like the old school Lego Star Wars. Like those were fairly straightforward in comparison, you know?
My God, why are there so many of them?
Too big and too girthy.
Let me leave.
Collectathons and I don't know. Maybe for like little kids it tickles that part of their brain or something, but it did not work for me. I see it and I roll my eyes and I stop playing. But this looks fire. I'm so excited for this. I think that this is exactly what they needed. And again, this shot, I remember seeing this shot. I was like, bro, they made Arkham Knight, but in Lego. Like they did the thing. I can't believe it. But they like actually did it. It's insane. Absolutely crazy. And it looks really good. So I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited for this. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Okay? Can't wait. So that's another one to keep an eye on. Going out of January, of course, we get to February. Norse Oath of Blood, Viking settlement sim with turn-based combat. This is one I actually checked out. It was, it's very interesting. It's, you know, people who find it like the Norse setting and like turn-based combat, I think should check it out.
Oh shit!
It's got some like funny writing and it's interesting.
You see that? I almost died.
If you want to try it, so if you want to just give it a shot, go give it a shot. That one comes out, Unemployment Simulator 2018. I haven't heard of this.
Unemployment Simulator?
Literally an unemployment simulator. Endure emotional pain and societal pressure, stay entertained, survive the routine, and become the hero of your studio apartment. Battle inner demons, hide skeletons in the closet, and most importantly, keep the bathroom clean. Okay. That's clever. I like that idea. That's a fun game. Neo 3, also, again, if you've played any of the Neo games, you should be excited for this one. They know what they're doing. They're really good at it. It's just, I mean, they're kind of fire. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? Like, Neo is Neo. It's kind of its own thing at this point. But they have a lot more complexity within the, like, ARPG systems than you would typically get in a lot of Souls-like rip-off kind of spin-off games. They're very, very fun and very well put together, typically. And I'm going to say typically because there's always a first time, but yeah, I think that that's one to check out. Cat breeding RPG from Super Meat Boy creator Mugenics. I'm going to keep this one with me. This looks awesome. Build the ultimate cat army through tactical breeding and send them into deep, challenging turn-based adventures. Draft abilities, collect items, and manipulate genetics across generations in this roguelike tactics game from the creators of Binding of Isaac, and the end is nigh. That looks awesome.
About an hour away from that for
awesome.
us.
I'm saving that one. That looks awesome. Romeo's the Dead Man. This is the one that they showed at the Game Awards, right? Or Summer Games Fest, maybe? Yeah, this was the one where it was just like, I don't understand. It made me feel old. High on Life 2, bro, I know that some people don't, like, these games are too much for them. I get it. The guns talk to you. It can be, like, a lot to handle. And I get it. I get it. But, dude, I freaking loved High on Life 1. I thought it was so funny and outrageous. It was, like, exactly, some of it was a bit much at times. But, dude, the part where, like, you need to have a serious conversation with your gun, and so he takes you out to the ultimate breakup spot, Space Applebee's, and then you have, like, a heart-to-heart breakup with him.
Dude, it's just so freaking funny. It's just outrageous. So I'm excited for this one. Actually, behind me, oh no, dude, Romeo did knock me over. They actually sent me. They heard that I was a fan of the game, and so they sent me this little like living picture frame, and it's got the screen in it, and it just perpetually has.
It's 11 here. Well, obviously, if it's an hour away, right?
Piece of merch, I guess, to just have my fiance stick on. But anyway, yeah, show us Romeo. We demand Romeo. I showed him earlier in the stream, but just a quick little fix for you. This was him eating his Kong last or 2 nights ago or whatever it was, and this is how he eats it because he's weird. He has to like do a little dance while he eats if he's happy, and so he does it like that.
That gets itchy.
Oh yeah, you can see in this picture he knocked it down. You can see he knocked it down. It's right.
All right, I need to use the restroom real quick, guys. I'll be right back.
He's huge. Yeah, dude.
I'll leave this playing.
Like 75, 80 pounds. I think he's like 75. Honestly, he's big. He's a big boy. Continuing on, Reanimal. This one is one to keep an eye on. Again, this is all. We're not even past the midpoint of February at this point. Okay, this is February 13th is what we're talking about. This is Tarsier Studios, and these are the guys that are actually behind Little Nightmares. This is confusing, so bear with me. Little Nightmares 1 and 2 were made by Tarsier. Little Nightmares 3 was made by, is it Supermassive? A separate company and team, which is why Little Nightmares 3 was like, not quite on the same level. But Reanimal is what that team behind Little Nightmares is doing next. They do have a demo out for you to try it. I ran into a bug with it where I couldn't grab onto a ladder at the end of the demo, so I like died 35 times. It was kind of frustrating, but it's what you would expect from the Little Nightmares team. It seems pretty cool, and I just love this creepy, spooky art style stuff that they do. So this is one to keep an eye on if you're somebody like me. Some of the other stuff that we have, of course, going into the rest of February, we have Resident Evil Requiem, which we touched on.
Actually, guys, I am probably gonna get off because I want to watch Stranger Things with Tiffany, and I will be back here tomorrow morning. If I don't stay up all night watching Stranger Things. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow morning. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys for being here for like the 2 hours that I was here, for the people that are here. I appreciate every single one of you. Even if there's very little people, the people that are here watching me, thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great night. Make sure you subscribe so that way you guys can watch tomorrow morning. And have a great night. And remember, you're pretty good.